It was a cold, fog-heavy night in rural Michigan, the kind where sound carries strangely and visibility disappears just beyond your headlights. On November 30th, 2018, 23-year-old Brittany Nicole Shank was driving along Fawn River Road near Sturgis when something went wrong. Her vehicle ended up in a ditch, a single-car crash on a quiet stretch of road. But that crash wasn't the end of the story. It was the beginning of a mystery that still hasn't been solved. Earlier that evening, Brittany had been seen with an unidentified man, someone no one has ever been able to clearly identify. He was described as being in his early to mid-20s, around 5 feet 6 inches to 5 feet 8 inches, with short blonde hair and distinctive mutton chop sideburns. Whoever he was, investigators believe he was with Brittany at the time of the crash. And then just as suddenly he was gone. What happened next unfolded in fragments, pieces of a timeline that feel both urgent and incomplete. Barefoot, without a coat, and bleeding from her arms and feet, Brittany began going door to door in the dark, trying to get help. It was freezing. The roads were covered in dense fog. And something about her behavior struck witnesses as off, confused, possibly scared, struggling to communicate what had just happened. Eventually, she reached a nearby home. A neighbor answered the door and saw a young woman in distress, injured, shaken, and desperate. Brittany briefly spoke with 911, but the connection was shaky. At one point, she handed the phone to the neighbor. He tried to explain what was happening, that she had no shoes, that she was bleeding, that she said her boyfriend had taken off after the crash. And then, in the middle of that call, everything shifted. The neighbor can be heard telling her to come back here. But Brittany didn't stay. For reasons no one has ever been able to explain, she ran back out into the darkness, into the fields and woods surrounding that quiet rural road. A witness later saw her through a window, moving away from the house. That was the last confirmed sighting of Brittany Shank. She was 23 years old, just 5 feet 1 inch, about 110 pounds, a mother of 4, a young woman trying, by many accounts, to get her life back on track, working towards sobriety, trying to rebuild, trying to find stability. And then, in a matter of minutes, she vanished. In the years that followed, investigators searched relentlessly. Ground searches, aerial scans, cadaver dogs, dive teams, every available resource was used. Still nothing. No confirmed sightings. No physical evidence that explains what happened after she ran into the night. Over time, the case grew more complicated. Witnesses gave conflicting or incomplete statements. Some people who may have had information are no longer alive. And one of the biggest unanswered questions remains: who was the man she was with that night, and why has he never been identified? In recent years, there's been renewed movement. New leadership within the St. Joseph County Sheriff's Office has brought fresh eyes to the case. The FBI is now assisting, helping analyze evidence and enhance audio from that haunting 911 call. The Western Michigan University Cold Case Program has spent hundreds of hours rebuilding timelines, organizing evidence, and re-examining every detail. There are new leads, new technology, and for the first time in a long time, a sense that this case hasn't been forgotten. But despite all of that, despite the searches, the attention, the years, Brittany has never been found. Her family continues to wait, to hope, to push for answers. Some believe this should be treated as more than a missing persons case, that the circumstances point to something far more sinister. But officially, it remains open, unresolved, a question without an ending. And maybe that's the part that stays with you, the not knowing. A young woman, injured and afraid, asking for help, and then disappearing into the dark just moments later. Cases like this don't just fade away. They linger in the community, in the memories of those who love her, and in the quiet hope that someone somewhere knows something. Because even after all this time, this is still considered a cold case. But cold doesn't mean closed, and maybe one day one tip, one detail, one memory will finally bring Brittany Shank home. This is Case and Cues with Carrie.